Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled.
Getting tabled. With the Bruce, the Yank, and Captain Socks.
Do we need to start over?
It might be good if we can.
Are you
Did you
good?
mess up already?
I'm good. I'm good now. Just might be good if
Hello,
that's not.
future people,
Oh,
and
you
welcome to the
bastard.
next episode of Getting Tabled with your host. He wasn't ready, apparently, the Bruce.
No, he was in the middle of a mouthful of food. I work with morons. Well, a moron. Plus Captain Socks.
It's yep.
No.
I feel personally attacked.
You're the plus. George is the moron.
I know that. I feel appreciated.
He's a marine. It's just natural.
Natural, of
I'm
course.
personally attacked now. Well,
Where did
another
my-
fortnight has passed, and now we are recording again. So, because we do this fortnightly.
Yes.
Because not enough people use the word fortnight anymore.
No, and it's been at least 6 months since we've had this conversation. About how more
Well,
people
it's-
need to use the word fortnightly in the US. It's only the US that doesn't use this phrase, as far as I understand. Well, English speaking, anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Kind of like we're the only English-speaking country that also doesn't use the metric system.
True.
Yep.
Now, in this episode, we're going to be covering the latest from Games Workshop in all of their Gen Con reveal goodness. And by reveal goodness, they weren't at Gen Con, they just show stuff when Gen Con's on. We're also covering probably a little bit of an older story now, but we've got a little bit more information on it. I kind of felt like it was finally worth covering the deathmatch thing that's coming out from Infinity. We've got the latest from GCT Studios, more gorgeous Japanesey type models that I think that George should buy. There's some new stuff from TT Combat, and there are some really gorgeous looking minis, and a little bit of a game on Kickstarter right now by a company that I'm a huge fan of, that I've already backed. We'll cover that later. Shall we start the news?
There's no such thing in shame for this, there, Socks.
Needless or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
Alright, folks.
Gen Con has just finished officially, and we got some news.
Yep. So,
Gen
there's
Con
been
happens.
quite a few
That's
things. There's been quite a few things that's been revealed by Games Workshop. The biggest one, in my eyes, I'm going to cover at the end of this. But we're starting with a new season coming out for Underworlds. And while I'm talking about this, I'm fixing my camera because it's gone all screw-iffy since I fixed it 5 minutes ago. So Captain Socks has been
Have you tried
covered.
turning it off and on again?
No, it was not the problem. Okay,
Well,
so we've got a new season of Warhammer Underworlds. This is a game that by now you're probably either into or you're not. There's probably not much of a middle ground at this point. In the new box set, we have some goblins. It's the goblins that we saw a few months ago now. We've definitely seen these goblins. And we have some, and I know this is going to be a huge surprise, but some Space Marines. I mean, no, not Space Marines, the other ones.
Stormcast Eternals.
Yes, yeah, they're totally not Space Marines, even though they definitely are Space Marines. This one has a bird, though. There is a bird in this, and the bird is not a Stormcast Eternal. The bird is actually quite cool. I think it might actually be my favourite model of the set, which probably says a lot for the set.
I'm not seeing a bird.
It's in the Stormcast
Oh, wait.
Eternals.
There's arrows.
oh, gotta scroll down further. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
There is a bird.
Yep. We've got an older gentleman, somebody with a mask, and a lady, and a bird. The bird is awesome. Everybody look at the bird. The only other thing about this that I kind of wanted to touch on was that reports are that they've changed the backs of the cards. There seems to be a little bit of an argument in the community at the moment as to whether this is just special cards coming with the set or if it is all of them, because apparently when they were announcing this, they kind of worded it in a weird way. We'll have to wait and see on that. If it does turn out that they're changing the backs on all of the cards, that's going to present a problem, because then you can identify what cards are which. I'm hoping that it's just a printing error.
Or you can just, go buy an entire new set, which is what Games Workshop probably wants you to do.
I have a feeling that might be the choice that they're making here.
Here's my surprised face.
Yep. So, fingers crossed,
Did you see the
hopefully
shock
it's
and awe?
over. Hopefully it's an exaggeration, as you can tell by the looks on mine and George's face, and probably not by Socks. We kind of suspect that this is Games Workshop. Games Workshop.
Yep.
Hopefully not. Hopefully we're wrong. Moving on, we have some new models coming out for the new Kill Team. I know that's going to be a huge surprise, given that, it's a new thing and they want to, make money. We've got new boxes coming for the Tau Pathfinders, and Sisters of Battle are in, finally. There is also a new starter set, which is just a rebox of Octarius. It's all very exciting. I didn't think it was worth covering by itself. But, yeah, should be good. These are just starter sets. Whether they turn out to be worth the money, because the starter sets for the factions last time turned out to be very expensive. Like, it was the most expensive way to buy in, because they were trying to capture that not thinking about it market. So
Hey, Bruce?
hopefully they're being smarter this time.
The picture that has the two Sisters of Battle, the one with that looks like the nun with the chainsaw, and you got the one with the red cloak with the Inquisitor eye.
Yeah.
Does the Inquisitor eye look like it's smiling or what?
Yes.
Maybe? She's thinking about something very hard.
Agreed.
Yeah. Moving on. Blood Bowl news, but it's still not the news that I want. We got more corn stuff. And by I shouldn't say more corns. I say this every time there's corn stuff, but we haven't actually had a corn release for a while now. We've got the corn Blood Bowl set coming out, and honestly, these might be the best looking corn minis I've seen in a while. Even if some of them are exactly the same model but without the weapons. In the actual picture of the whole team, in the very back line, the second one from the left, I have this mini with his weapons removed. It looks exactly the same.
And probably without the football mask on the helmet.
True. That is a good point. That werewolf is, I think, the best looking werewolf they've ever done.
I will have to say, probably doing a Corn Blood Bowl team, what took them so long? Because all they literally have to do is pull off some of the weapons, like the little brass knuckle thing, okay, yeah, that can stay, that's no problem. Add the grids to the helmets, and you're done. I
think it's a matter of finding their time.
This could have been a job for the designing intern. Hey, just do this, and, yeah.
The only thing in this that I can see that's legitimately a new sculpt are the werewolves. Everything else is just slight reposes. Because you got to remember, all of the Games Workshop stuff has been digitally sculpted for quite a long time now. And that's not a criticism. Almost everybody is doing that now. So moving poses for them is actually very easy. But that still doesn't mean you want to flood the market with stuff. I think they've kind of been clever on when they decided to do this. Enter here repeat statement of every time of the thing that I ask every time we talk about Blood Bowl. I want Chaos Dwarves. And
You said that before?
I have said it a couple of times. I mean, I'm
Really?
not one to repeat myself. I never repeat myself on the same subject. I'm definitely not going to repeat myself later when we talk about our last story. But I'm pretty sure almost everybody fell off their chairs this weekend when this was announced. Now, there has been a few other things that Games Workshop announced and we haven't covered. I kind of picked and chose what I thought was the more interesting stuff this week. But I think it's been about 8 years that people have been screaming bloody murder over the fact that the Black Templars book got taken away. And Games Workshop have actually finally listened. And by listened, I mean found a way to charge for a new box set. So there's an army set coming
It's
out.
not surprising.
Can I say that is probably the best looking box ever?
The box art is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. I do like the box art.
That is just stunning.
Yeah. No idea what size it is. It's only 13 miniatures, but one of them is the Redemptor Dreadnought. So I'm sure it's only going to be like $700. No, I'm being silly. I'm kind of hoping that this is around your starter set sort of prices. I'd be very upset if this turns out to be expensive because there's not.
If this
really
is more
a
than
lot
$100, well, I don't know. It looks like it has a collector edition codex.
It does, yeah, and that's going to push the price up.
So I'm gonna say it's maybe. I hope it's not more than 150.
Yeah. So Black Templars are getting new models. They're getting a new codex, and quite frankly, these are gorgeous models. All Primaris scale, obviously, because it's new and it's Games Workshop. And it's not new art though. That art is old art. The art on the book. That's a very old book. That's a very old piece of art.
I was gonna say that's one of the oldest images for I want
to say
Games
that's
Workshop
second ed.
period.
Maybe I could be wrong, but I think it's fair to say that. Oh, it also comes with decals and some data cards, because that's exciting. But no, all jokes aside, wait, does it come with? Yeah, set also contains. Data cards also have a nice looking box, but every year they seem to be saving something that people have been screaming for to announce. So it's been Old World, which we still haven't got yet. Sisters, that we do have now. Now we've got this. Maybe next year we will get a Crute Codex. I doubt it. We're probably more likely to get, a bloody hand god, maybe. But that's it from the wonderful world of Games Workshop, or at least what I felt was worth covering from Games Workshop. So, Infinity is a game that we kind of talk about here and there. It's very popular. It's very, very popular. Infinity Deathmatch Tag Raid is, I think, possibly the worst name for a game I've ever heard. It just kind of feels like a name that never stops being a name. It just goes on forever. So this is the next game that they're bringing to Kickstarter. Enter usual comment about companies that don't belong on Kickstarter. This basically
Is this a board game?
This is a board game.
That's what it's looking like.
Yep. So rather than taking place in cities and stuff, this is taking place in a mining complex, and comes with a giant monster mini, which is that giant worm that you see on the side. Now, keeping in mind that the Infinity tags are fairly substantial in size, and that thing is at least double the size, like, this is going to be very... I suspect this is going to be very, very worthwhile.
Well, then also looking at this too, like looking at that one image, where it looks like it's a board game.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Those tags, look like they're scaled down, so this almost looks like it's a Adeptus Titanicus.
No, they are. Everything in this is to scale.
Everything has to scale, so those aren't smaller. Okay.
Nope, they're all 28 mil.
Okay.
What is not pictured in there is some minis that they are calling prospectors. So this comes with 4 tags. There's also prospectors in the game, which is like your miners that keep on trying to attack things and stuff. The worm kind of comes up randomly in one of those 3 holes and will kind of attack whoever's around it. So it's kind of it's the game trying to disturb how the action works and stuff. We only know so much about this. They have done a few videos on their YouTube channel, which I will link in the notes. But I don't know if this is something I want to back or not. The thing that I find frustrating about this is the same thing I found frustrating about Defiance. It's not coming to retail. This is only going to be on Kickstarter, and I just don't understand why companies keep on doing this. It doesn't make any sense. Other than yes, you might get a few extra dollars because people will be scared of missing out.
Mm-hmm.
Restricting this only to Kickstarter makes no sense as a business, because all you're doing is limiting your fan base. Like, there's just less people that can buy it.
Yep. Exactly.
I mean, the only reason why it makes sense to, like, you know, do something like this where you only get on Kickstarter is if you've developed the game, you've play tested it, you've built it, and you realize there's a percentage of the fan base that will back this and without hesitation. But beyond that, it's a turd and it won't sell on the shelves. So we'll just do it this way.
Well, I don't know. See, it's not. It doesn't look like the box is stupidly big that stores won't be willing to put it on the shelf. I mean, it's not like an Infinity is a name that doesn't sell.
Yeah.
But it's not something that might get picked up by the competitive people, maybe. So, I don't know. It is something that they're doing that's a risk. I'll give them that. It's not being on Kickstarter that I have the biggest problem with for this. It's the fact that it's a Kickstarter exclusive and you cannot buy this unless you do it through Kickstarter. That's where I have a problem.
And that's what I'm saying. I wonder if they've done enough playtesting on it and everything and realized that it's not going to be good enough to sustain on the shelves and to develop further beyond this. And they're just going to kickstart it, get the pile of money for it, make it, ship it, and just call it done.
Yeah. So I'm kind of in two boats as to whether I regret backing Defiance or not. That's a game that I really, really wanted to play. But at the same time, it was really expensive. It looked like it was worth the money, quite frankly. It's still shipping out at the moment. And that's with all of the COVID delays. It's shipping out only a month or two late off the top of my head. I don't remember the exact dates that were promised. It's definitely late, but it's not super late. I know it's arrived in Australia. I know it's arrived in parts of the US. It's still being delivered in Spain because the ship to Spain got delayed. So when it's their own country that's getting it last, you got to give them respect for that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Moving on. GCT is the company that does Bushido, and the very, very first model is a model that I must own because, oh my god, it's a giant snake person with a chain weapon. It looks all kinds of awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We've also got a guy that's walking around with two of the best looking boys that you've ever seen. I mean, this guy has a whippet. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do. I mean, it looks like a whippet to me. I don't think I've seen anybody ever do a whippet mini. Ever.
It's a little big to be, like, thick to be a whippet, but the closest thing I can think is a whippet.
Mm. And
I could probably haul her through the wall and have the dog expert come look.
Possibly. There's also somebody for the Mini Moto, which is holding a big banner thing that looks like you could stab somebody with it. Like, seriously, you could stab somebody with that banner. And there's another really cool looking bird mini. It's kind of
We've seen that bird
something
already.
here for all of the factions.
We've seen that bird.
Yeah, that's Rooster Man.
Mm-hmm.
We've also seen the guy with the bow as well.
That is a stunning mini, I think.
I think that's possibly the
Like,
best of them.
I can feel the motion of that mini just
Yeah.
with it sitting there.
And I don't remember if we've seen the guy with the baboon or not. I mean, the guy himself looks very uncomfortable. But the baboon looks like he's going to kick all of the ass.
Yeah.
Maybe that guy's sculpted like he's fending off the baboon.
Possible. I would think that
Like,
they're probably working together, though. My favourite is the Snake Lady, just because she's from my faction, and it's a Snake Lady with a giant chain weapon. And what's there not to like about a giant Snake Lady with a chain weapon? Any favourites from you guys?
The guy at the bow.
Guy
with
with
the
the
bow? Yeah.
Yeah,
Sculpt-wise, you are right.
Yeah, to take a static mini like that and impart so much fluidity and motion into it.
Yeah, because you can feel him drawing back. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like
Or about
and-
to release.
yeah. I mean, it's just even though it's static and like in reality too, he could, be like a sniper, and he's been holding that for the last minute, waiting for,
The right
the one
spot.
thing to move to, or
Well,
counting the timing, or yeah.
And the way that his cape is blowing, and it almost looks like the wind is blowing by. And so he's
Yeah.
holding, like you said, George, he's holding that, waiting for the wind to die down so it affects his shot.
I like the fact like the bow is actually the right size too, which with the larger bows like that is not easy to capture in a sculpt. And a bow of that size is really difficult to get in a crouching pose, but they've managed to do that somehow. My favourite is the Snake Lady, just because she's from my faction. But sculpt-wise, I think easily it's that. Not that I think that there's no turds in this. They're all good. So
No, yeah, they're pretty decent.
there's a small company that you may have heard of called TT Combat. We may
Never
have
heard
talked
of them
about them
before.
before. I'm not 100% sure. So the most exciting thing here is clearly the fact that they're doing a cutting mat. No, I'm just being facetious. I mean, yes, they have a cutting mat. That is cool. There's a whole
where's
heap
that?
of terrain here that they've got coming in their Octo line, which for me screams Infinity, personally. There is one of them that has a mini on it. Is it an Infinity mini? I want to have a closer look.
That's about
No, it's a Necromunda mini.
That's about 15 inches by 12 inches.
The cutting mat or the terrain?
Yeah, the cutting mat.
Okay. Because I was going to say the building I was looking at wasn't anywhere near that big. I mean, wide. But there's also something I wanted to cover on this that we should have talked about last episode and didn't. If you scroll down a little bit, there's a mini called the Chameleon. And
I already mentioned that it's John Cena in a chameleon form.
It is. It's a John Cena, yes. I know you can't see the mini, but there is a mini there. For some reason, when you two mentioned John Cena, I kind of acknowledged it and didn't notice what you were talking about because I was inside the page of the Triassic 5 at the time.
Because you don't listen to anything I say, Bruce.
Sorry, what was that? You deserve that. Well, I just wanted to acknowledge that because I mean, I'm not saying it's John Cena, but it's definitely John Cena. And the fact that they've done it as a chameleon just makes so much sense.
Right?
It's just a living meme now. I challenge somebody to paint that so that you literally can't see it. Find some invisible paint.
So, can I talk about how cool the tribe platforms are?
Sure.
They're pretty cool.
Because when you put them all together, you have like a cohesive building with some platforms. Or you separate them out into towers and, spread them out over the battlefield, and you have towers with platforms.
Pretty nice balconies.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, I'll give you that.
I think those are really cool, yet really simple.
Yep. These are for Drop Zone, too.
Okay, so they're on a little bit of the small scale.
Yeah, they're 10mm. If you look in the description, it does say that.
Lewis, crank these up to 28 mil.
I'd agree with that. They would sell.
Yeah.
Because you figure 1.5 times the size, so get 3 towers for what? How would that convert up? 30 pounds?
Not easily, because converting something from one scale to another is actually a lot harder than people think it is.
Well, no,
You
I
actually
was
have
just
to
looking
redesign it.
I was talking about material costs and everything for like actual pricing.
I would be guessing somewhere around the 30 or 40 pound mark.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good price for a 3-tower terrain kit. Ooh, those cooling towers are cool.
It's also for Drop Zone.
Yeah, all of that stuff there is for Drop Zone.
The landing pad isn't. The landing pad's pretty big.
I stand corrected. Everything but the landing pad is for Drop Zone.
Yeah, because I was looking at it because I was like, ooh, that would be cool for like Legion and stuff like that. Have a spaceship.
Yeah.
of some sort sitting on there as terrain piece.
All really gorgeous stuff. But
I'm confused.
yes.
So I'm looking at the PHI particle collider.
Yeah.
Its dimensions are 38 centimeter by 30 centimeter by 90 centimeter.
You get the tower. That's probably this
90 centimeters?
I suspect that's a typing error. I think it's meant to be 9 centimeters tall. It's definitely not 90 centimeters tall.
Okay, yeah, okay. I see. I just found the picture with the little APV.
Not George. Lewis, we found a typing error.
No, you're right. 90 centimeters, that'd be pretty big too.
Or maybe I should order one and then complain the fact that it's not 90 centimeters tall. I mean, it is 90 millimeters tall, but that's not what it says.
Oh, it's advertising.
Yep. Yeah, you might want to get somebody on that, Lewis. All right, moving on.
Same with the landing pad. It says it's 90 centimeters tall too.
Oh, well, that's definitely not 90 centimeters.
Mm-hmm. I think TT Combat needs to start paying us for spell check.
Moving on.
It's like the meme.
This is like my fourth attempt to try and move on now. Mantic Games have announced that Deadzone is finally getting a 3rd edition. I say finally. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago that we were talking about the 2nd edition for Deadzone. I might have said Drop Zone by mistake. But Deadzone. Deadzone is a skirmish-sized game based in their... is it Warzone, their game? Their sci-fi game? Anyway. It's all very, very... It definitely has a crowd and a following. The 2nd edition kind of... It went well, but I don't think it went as well as they wanted it to. There was kind of a few things in the rules that they've updated. The rules on this is more streamlined as opposed to completely written. They've kind of rejiggered things to kind of make it a little bit more sense, and so that you can't be that guy in a game to get away with something that you know that you're not supposed to be getting away with. They actually specifically called out something that people were doing that they know that they're not allowed to do. But the rules didn't specifically say that they couldn't, so therefore they are. I don't remember what the actual thing was, but the people writing the rules were definitely calling people out on it. Which I like when companies do that. It's like, you knew that you weren't allowed to do this, so now we've definitely written it so that you can't do this anymore. Games Workshop won't do that because they kind of want their fans to argue over things, I think. And if they didn't want their fans to argue over things, they wouldn't write rules to be... what's the word?
Stupid?
No, Games Workshop do this thing where their rules are to be interpreted as opposed to read. Which invites an argument. Argument is probably not the right word to use.
Conflict.
Yeah. There's two frames of thought when it comes to wargaming. Some people feel that is part of a game. I'm not one of those people. I feel that takes away from a game. But you're never going to win everybody one way or the other with that. But this looks like it could be interesting. There will be some new boxes coming out. There's a new expansion on their terrain. All of the signs and pictures and stuff are all new on that. And there's some hard plastic kits coming that we will be seeing at a later date. Yeah. Speaking of Mantic, I'm probably ordering some Mantic stuff shortly. But we will talk about that in hobby time. Moving on to a game that we have not covered before. Parabellum have a game out called Conquest that's getting a lot of attention recently. Partially because Games Workshop annoyed a lot of people with one of the decisions that they made recently. And partially because it looks like this might actually be a really good game. They have orcs riding dinosaurs. In this particular case, it's an orc riding a T-Rex. And I don't care who you are, there's nothing about this model that is not awesome. It's an orc riding a T-Rex. I shouldn't need to say any more than that.
Looks like the T-Rex has feathers on its tail.
Yep, that would be because they've actually sculpted them according to what they were and not what we didn't think they were 30 years ago. You got to remember, Jurassic Park is wrong in this, and Jurassic Park was wrong when it was released.
No, NASA says Jurassic Park is one of the most scientifically accurate movies ever.
I don't know where they're getting that information from, because every dinosaur scientist in the world disagrees with them in the 90s, let alone now. They also have raptors being ridden by orcs as well, and they also have feathers, but much more feathers than that. There's also an apex queen. There is a whole heap of other stuff. It's just this is the one that got me excited because I was like, ooh, 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 T-Rex. Because T-Rex is awesome. Because it is. So I thought I'd show that off. Captain Socks. Major Socks. I believe we got some Star Wars stuff that's been announced, including something that almost captures my attention.
Yeah, you're talking the...
Like, seriously,
extravaganza.
I may be tempted to buy into some stuff next year.
Yeah, so AMG, Atomic Mass Games, just had their mini extravaganza last weekend, where they showed off a whole bunch of stuff, including some announcements for Star Wars Legion. And in it, they announced that they're going to start having mercenaries, so you can actually have units that may be able to be played on both sides, but depending on what faction you play. But then they're also going to have battle forces. So think of the Battle of Hoth. They're actually going to have a box for all the rebel forces that were defending on Hoth, and then they're going to have another box for all the Empire forces trying to take over Hoth. Almost like a Battlefleet box we see in Drop Fleet Commander and some of the others from Games Workshop. But then, as Bruce mentioned, there is a teaser where Ewoks are going to be coming out for Legion, as well as some other potential sub-factions. People are wondering, you've always wondered about Gungans. Who knows? We could see them with these new almost sub-factions, slash mercenaries they're coming out with in the future. So,
yeah,
most of these are going to be out late next year, 3 time frame. What they're saying. This is what they've been working on. These are kind of their first steps as the maker of the Legion.
There's a really cool piece of art that they continue to use throughout this, which is Darth Maul with the Darksaber and half of his lightsaber just storming towards camera. And I don't know what the context of this is. I'm guessing it's from one of the comic books. But it might be my favourite piece of Star Wars art right now.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be one of the new mercenaries. Darth Maul is already out there for the clones, or sorry, not the clones, the CIS, the Separatist faction.
I think it's worth noting that this Darth Maul is post being cut in half too. Correct.
So he's going to be part of the new mercenary faction. They're going to have some folks where he comes from, as well as some more Mandalorians. So a lot of cool stuff coming out as mercenaries. Cad Bane is going to get a new right. Boba Fett is going to get a new right, and Bosk is going to get a new right because they're, in a sense, bounty hunters / mercenaries for hire in the movies as well as Clone Wars series.
Yeah.
So their rules are going to be changing as they come out with the mercenary rules more in the future to come on that. So I'm looking forward to it. See it to come. So
I think it's... I'm going to give some people credit here that probably wouldn't have been given credit publicly. But there's a community of people out there that specifically started creating Ewoks for the games for 3D printing. And there is no way that announcement would have happened if the audience wasn't out there for it. So I think it's fair to say that the 3D printing community is directly responsible for a release in this case. Because there's no way that would have happened otherwise.
Yeah. And
I don't know what Atomic Mass Games thinks, but that's what I think.
No, I agree, because Fantasy Flight obviously has been working on the Droid Spider, the little walker with the big bulbous head droid unit. And people have been 3D printing that for a while, too, since pretty much the Droid Separatist Army came out. And so I can kind of say that kind of was another one that came about from the 3D printing community of people printing their own droid units
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, from a personal standpoint, realistically, the Gungans are better fleshed out as an army than the Ewoks are, because the Ewoks aren't really an army. They're just someone that...
No.
I mean, they do have extra stuff. I mean, there's movies that people hate. I enjoyed them as kids, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend they were good. That do flesh out the lore of the Ewoks a bit more, but they still weren't an army per se. So it does give me hope that we might see something from the Gungans. I'm still not going to hold my breath, though. I'll probably buy something Ewoks, though. I'd actually happily paint Ewoks, just as a painting project.
Yeah.
There's also some Marvel stuff as well.
Well, quick question.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is a Battle of Hoth, right?
Yeah.
So are they going to do a Battle of Kolth?
Who knows? They could be. I mean, there's plans for other battle forces in the future. So
Are they going to do Chewie's family?
they kind of already.
Did you miss my reference there, Socks?
Yes, I did.
Blue Harvest, where they're he's a comedian instead of a bad guy, and he's just like, yeah, I'm from Hoth. I don't know why they call it Hoth. It's really cold there. Should just call it Kolth.
Oh.
So,
Gotcha. Anyways, but they kind of have a faction in the sense of Wookiee
Talk about
warriors.
a deep dive.
Yeah. So, because they have a bunch of new releases coming out that are all Battle of Kashyyyk style, and they got a new box of Wookiee warriors coming. So, you kind of already have a way to build an entire Wookiee army if you wanted to.
Major Socks, have you seen the Star Wars Holiday Special that George Lucas wants you not to see?
No, I've not.
I recommend watching it, but I recommend watching it with alcohol and preferably a riff track, because it's really hard to watch. There's a reason George Lucas still tries to deny that he ever made it, even though there's video evidence that he definitely made it. Nobody tried in that at all.
As you mentioned, there's more stuff coming out from MCP. I didn't watch it.
Yeah. So some of
more
this we've
issues
seen
in the
before,
Legion.
some of it we haven't. Hulkbuster we had seen separate from the event, but it's a much better view of it this time. The big thing is that we're getting some more X-Men stuff, which is along the same line of what they announced last year. So, Juggernaut. I think that might almost be my choice of release there, just because it's Juggernaut. Colossus is possibly my favourite X-Man ever. I've always been a fan of Colossus. And he comes with Magic, who I'm not familiar with. And then, I think we've probably got the fans' choice, because I'm sorry, it's Rogue and Gambit, and it's the fans' choice because it's Rogue and Gambit.
I'm trying to find these images.
Go back to the main page. Click on the actual logo and then scroll down.
Okay.
That's my fault. Sorry.
Okay, I found Hulkbuster.
Yep. If you keep on going across to the right, because it does start with stuff that we've already discussed, and then you will see Ms. Marvel, and then you will see a new Spider-Man Dr. Octopus, which is part of a diorama set that they've done. And at the very end,
All right, now
you
who
have
you
Rogue and
were
Gambit.
not familiar with, Bruce?
What was that?
Who were you not familiar with?
Magic. She's an
Magic,
X-Man I've
okay.
never heard of. But yeah, Rogue definitely feels a lot like Rogue. Gambit is, well, it's Gambit. Gambit's awesome. There's a reason he was almost everybody's favourite X-Man in the cartoon. Because if you weren't a fan of Wolverine, you were a fan of Gambit, and you were probably a fan of both.
And in his skeevy New Orleans accent?
Yep. Yeah, I think that particular set's going to sell like hotcakes. Just because of who they are. But yeah. Any thoughts?
My thoughts are I it's cool. It's Marvel stuff. I really want to get in that game. I don't want to get into that game, and I really want to talk about the cool thing I saw on the next topic.
The Don't Look Back one.
Yes.
So, Don't Look Back have a cursed crate coming out, as well as something else that's not on the run sheet that I'll talk about in a second. So the cursed crate, at first thing, so this is an expansion for the game, and at first glance you're looking at it and going, why is it $60? It's the same price as the full set. This is actually 3 expansions in one. This is 3 different expansions that story all links together. It's all based around the owner of a pizza joint in the town that this game's based in. Mama Luna's Pizza. And it turns out that Mama Luna is a werewolf. So you've got 3 different minis there, all of which are actually...
What was her name, like
lady.
Luna? What? No.
Comes with some expansions to the items and so forth with the game. As I said, it comes with a new rulebook because this is the first fully fleshed out expansion for the game. And a 3D printed mini, which is basically it's a themed killer for the missions. The thing that confuses me is the cards that they're showing appear to be in sleeves that I can't buy. And I would buy those sleeves, probably. So I don't know if the sleeves are supposed to be coming with this game, or if that's a tease of something that's coming. I don't actually know there. But this is something I like. It's 3 expansions in one. This is some significant content here. You get new environments and a Twist of Fate deck expansion. So this is, it's got some significant content in here. But the other thing, is this what you wanted to comment on, or is it where I'm leading next?
I don't know. I'm looking at Mama Luna's Pizzeria.
Yeah, I was gonna say the terrain's pretty cool that they're starting to come out with.
Yeah. So yes, as part of it, they were releasing a terrain set of Mama Luna's Pizzeria, which is a building from the town. You'll also notice that the Lake House cabin is there at the moment.
I do see that.
Yes. That's only going to be there for another few days. This is kind of your last chance to buy it again for a while. It will come back, but this is going to be something that they kind of feed in and out occasionally. Same with the Camp Northwood, which is brand new. I was really, really tempted to drop money on these, but it would cost me $100 in postage just to get them here to Australia. And I really want them, but it's just not feasible for me to get them and pay that sort of money in postage. And that's not a slight on them. There's nothing they can do to controle that. But if you're in the US and you want to build up a camp, like, there is no better way of doing it. It's just so... It's $120 for a 3x3 table, and possibly the best 3x3 table of a camp that you're ever going to do, in my opinion.
65.
65? What?
Oh.
Yeah,
it's
that plus the
$65
Lake House cabin.
Oh, okay.
You put them together and you got a full 3x3 table.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And it would be very densely packed.
That's not what I was, like, really excited about seeing.
Yeah, what are you really excited about seeing?
If you scroll down a ways, there's a Don't Look Back Deluxe measuring gauge.
Oh, yes, I was getting to that. Yes, the knife is back.
That's just brilliant.
They hadn't decided if they were bringing this back or not, which is why I'd kind of said hopefully they're bringing it back every other time we discussed it. I am definitely buying this at some point. It's just a question of when I make my next order. That is definitely being added to it, because... and mine is going to be painted with blood splatter on it, because of course it is. And I'm not even going to pretend that I'm the first one to do that. I've seen videos on people doing it, so... Yeah, some significant stuff being dropped there by Blacksite Studio. And
The more I see this game, the more I really want this game.
it's a lot of fun. I have played it. It's fun. It's worth buying. I saw people playing it with their kids, and they kind of changed it so that the campers were Scooby-Doo. And they swapped out the killer for like a really cliche type villain, and they kind of just changed it a little so it fit for the audience. So I like a game that you can kind of play around with like that. And I guess in the case if you're playing it with kids, then it's not that they've been killed; it's that they've been scared and ran away, or something.
Oh.
Now, George, would you like to start talking about a game that's coming out by a company that I'm definitely on board with saying that I'm a huge fan of, and I never criticise them at all? And by not at all, I mean all of the time.
So
Because this is going really well on Kickstarter right now.
Well, to address that, it's everything I've seen in the last year and a half, ever since I saw the Ankh Kickstarter. Everything they seem to put up does well.
Yes.
On the 14th of September, we were rewarded and graced and blessed with a Kickstarter for Cmon's Masters of the Universe, the board game Clash for Eternia.
So
There are
this
so many
is
things
the
about
version
this.
that you can buy within the US and everywhere that's not Europe. If
Everywhere
you're from
but
Europe, then I will be linking an alternate board game that you can purchase by one of their competitors.
Or expand your base of friends and find someone who doesn't live in Europe.
Oh, yeah, but then they're paying for postage twice too. Honestly, unless you really want the Cmon game because you're a big fan of Cmon, I would just buy the Archon Studio one if you're from Europe.
I've not seen the Archon Studio game, like how it's played, and from what I've seen of the Cmon one, I think it's actually kind of brilliant.
Yeah. It's a
so
difficult thing of where the rights for Masters of the Universe is kind of a bit complicated and has been gotten in different regions by different people. So Cmon can't release this for everyone. They're physically not allowed to. It would be illegal for them to. This has actually hit $1 million right now too. So
Yeah.
And to answer the question, yes, I've given in, and yes, I've backed it.
Shame on you.
I feel very dirty.
I'm sure you do.
I was backer 349.
I wasn't. I was 1,000 and something. I was asleep when this went live.
Now that being said, in the last few days since it has launched, it first launched with the Assault on Grayskull and then the Plastic Castle Grayskull pack, which, come on, you can't not get that. It's just a little mini Plastic Grayskull. But here in the last few days, we were given another expansion that has SheRa and her gang of goodies.
Yeah, which is it. You had asked me if they were going to do this, and I was like, well, they might, but they may not be allowed to, because for people that aren't up with He-Man and everything, SheRa was the spin-off, and it's kind of one of these things. The legal rights on SheRa is that complicated that even Mattel don't entirely understand it, and have acknowledged that it confuses them. Like, this isn't me throwing shade, it's something that they have acknowledged that they struggle with. So,
now that being said, we are getting them. Now, nothing about Hordak and his group of cronies that hassle her and her associates, but...
Yeah, although they do have his bots already, which is weird.
Yeah, I would be great. Yeah, with the robots, I would be greatly shocked if they don't show up. So
he's going to show up as an unlock. He'll have to.
Oh, he has to. You can't have it's so I'm very very pleased with all the stuff that is being teased to us on a daily basis and unlocked on essentially a daily basis.
Yeah.
I'm very happy with what I'm seeing. I'm greatly excited for this. I'll have to see if I can find it or find one for you to check out there, Bruce. But some groups who are bigger than us, they have more followers, so they were given oh, what's the word?
I don't know.
Prototype boxes of the game
Ooh,
that you could sit down and play. Yeah,
interesting.
and so if you scroll up to the first picture, where you got the board game and you got the actual board and you got like the two, dashboard things.
Yeah.
So the one dashboard, that's closest on the bottom, that's a player dashboard. The one above that is the DM dashboard, who's controlling multiple characters at the same time.
Oh, yes, and then that's in the usual Cmon fashion.
Well, the way it's set up is they always are able to gain power and do more things or bigger things than the players are. So
it's a little bit of a stretch, but think Zombicide. It works in a very similar manner to that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
never played Zombicide, so
no, but like there is somebody that controls the villains, potentially.
Yeah,
it's a classic dungeon crawler concept. But this can also be played by one person, so you don't have to have a person that's actually controlling that.
It says 1 to 5. I think this is the kind of game where I think it would be much better if you weren't lonely and by yourself.
Well, yes, it's going to be more fun with friends. Just scrolling through the unlocks right now, like we've already had some significant names come up. Some of which are really exciting, others are which are just like, oh, it's a piece of terrain, which is not unexciting, but it's not what you back it for. I like the fact that they're doing 3D stuff. I like the fact that Mossman actually kind of looks like Beastman, like the original, and we kind of talked about this offline, because the original hero was literally Beastman covered in flock.
Yep.
Because, for those that don't know, He-Man, although massively popular and made billions of dollars, was essentially done on a shoestring budget, originally. Hence why all of the parts are the same.
And for the most part, there's only like 5 different sculpts.
Pretty much, yeah. But we've got Battle Cat, we've got Whiplash. You can buy parts of the game separately if you don't want to do the $220 pledge. But I don't know why you would do it that way. It's one of those things where clearly they've only done it that way so that the $220 pledge can look like it's worth more. It's just...
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's fairly obvious that the whole point of why they're giving... The whole point of why they're giving the Grayskull a $75 price is that then they can say that it's $15 cheaper if you don't buy it that way. Because you would be stupid to buy it that way. It's not worth it. It's not a $75 product. It's the other price.
But I mean, who's going to go through and buy Assault on Castle Grayskull, and then not to get the Castle Grayskull though?
Yes, exactly. This is exactly my point. So yeah, this is Cmon being typical Cmon. There's lots and lots of unlocks. If you're not a large company, you probably don't want to be on Kickstarter for the next couple of weeks. You probably want to wait and do it after this gets off, because this is going to get all of Kickstarter's attention.
Considering what have we got left? 12 days to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the marble dice, but I'm sorry, they're not worth $12. They're not getting my money. They do look pretty, but they're dice. They're not worth $12.
Yeah, I will say this has the potential of probably one of the biggest board game Kickstarters ever, period.
Well, it's
just because of the intellectual property.
Well, yeah, that too. And it's in the middle of a really popular, like, He-Man is legitimately a big name at the moment because of Revelation.
Yeah, well, you got a bunch of us that, in our age group that, this is what we had when we were kids. We can go and shell out, at least $100 on a board game. Oh, and then we have kids, so we're going to be like, you got to play this. I mean, Socks, look at this. Would you sit down, play this with your kids if you had it?
Yeah, probably.
Shall we move on to some indie stuff?
We shall.
Yes.
Indie. Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
All right. So this fortnight, sorry, we're looking at Elric's Hobbies, which is based somewhere in the US. I'm not 100% sure where in the US. I actually came across these guys because they advertised in a Conquest group with the image that I linked, which is the Gen Con exclusive Conquest bases. You can't buy these on the website yet, but I have had confirmation from the owner that they are coming to the website soon. This is just that was the exclusive that he brought along as kind of like, hey, these are only available now, and you can't buy them anywhere else yet, kind of thing, like you do at Kickstarter, because that's what you do at Gen Con. But largely, this guy mainly does bases. And there's some really nice looking bases too. Advanced Alien Ruins are just kind of your fairly standard Alien Ruins. The Alien Diamond Plate's quite nice. Would work kind of fairly well for, I don't know, an Alien game, or I don't know, if you wanted to do them for Tyranids is the one that I'm thinking of. But in the world where secret weapon dropping away, it's kind of nice to come across someone else that's doing some really nice looking bases. The Chaos Diamond Plate ones are quite nice too, actually. Kind of when it comes to people doing Chaos bases, they all kind of feel like they're the same after a while. It's all like it's lava and then it's spiky rocks. This one is
the crosses, or
yeah. This one is like it's diamond plate, but it's been corrupted. I mean, there's actually some thought that's been put into it, which I kind of like. Like, so some of this is fairly usual, like slate or corrupted this, cities and so on and so forth. But there's some other things that kind of jump out. Like there's industrial ruins here that's very, very much steampunk-esque. Imperial Walkway would fit right in with your Star Wars stuff. Or 40k for that matter.
Yeah, I was just looking at those.
There's some really, really nice looking stuff here. Like I said, some of this is fairly, like, yep, I've seen this sort of thing before, like wood plate. And this isn't having a go. I mean, you want to have some sanded stuff that some people just want to find the classics. And if I have some wood plank bases and I'm kind of sick of looking at the same wood plank bases, then I can buy this guy's wood plank bases and add some diversity there, for example. But moving on, he's doing stuff for Conquest. As I said, the Conquest stuff is not on the site yet. There is stuff that's specific for Legion, which is definitely very helpful. Includes the plate covers. Can you explain to me what the plate covers are?
I'll get back to that. I'm going to look at them. You talking about those ones? That I'm not sure. So okay. I'm trying to figure that out myself. Because I've never heard of plate covers. Unless they're talking about like on the tanks, the little hatches for the tanks.
Yeah, that would make sense. And obviously there's bundles and so forth. You got your regular round bases and your round edge bases. They are just going to be different versions of the same thing. But moving back to the image that I brought up initially. So Conquest is one of these weird games where it's on square bases, but the individual models are on round bases. Because the models for Conquest are actually one of two different games. The full army game is all like movement and it's like your mass battle. But there's also a skirmish size game which is just on your individual bases. So he's designed bases that can work legitimately for both. Which I really like. I just thought it was worth looking at because I haven't seen anybody even try to do unique bases for Conquest yet. This is the first one I've come across that actually did. So, yeah. Actually,
Yeah, I was going through and look at some of his other stuff. I found a lava bases in his thing, which, I did think those, like, they're very, very three-dimensional, not, what a lot of these bases are. Like, yeah, the some of the ones he's got shown there where it's just, it's a pattern in it. The lava ones are very three-dimensional, so.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Just bringing up the ones that George was referring to. There's some actual real nice depth in there. Looking at the painted pictures, it almost looks like it's cork. I suspect that it might have been originally, before it was cast. That's just a guess.
Where are they at again? Looks like a lot of custom cut acrylic tokens stuff too, which
I didn't even look at the tokens, to be honest.
Yeah, they're on
they look a lot
supplies.
like Allen stuff.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, most tokens kind of look the same in that regard.
Yeah,
and that's not a go at anybody.
there.
It's just like there's only so many ways that you can do tokens. Oh, somebody's doing purity seals. Ha, nice. Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of hard looking at the painted ones if they're originally cork or not.
Oh, I'm really, really tempted by that Blood Angels purity seal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's really tempting. Sorry. It's not Blood Angels. It's Angels of Blood. It's totally different.
Oh. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But just a thought.
Oh, looks like he.
Shall we talk about some, I don't know, hobby?
Hobbies?
Stream, glue, drying, paint.
What have you been up to, George?
Well, I am currently. Let me go take a look-see. Where to go? I am 38% through with exporting one part of my game yesterday.
Oh, that's right. You had a game of
Oh yeah.
of what's it's called?
Yeah, Ankh.
Ankh, that's it.
The downside is the other camera wasn't recording for an hour of it, and that was the top-down angle. So, yeah.
While you're talking about your hobby, and then Major Socks is talking about his, I'm going to dock off for a second.
Okay. But
How was it?
so
You
yeah,
like the game?
it was good. A couple of my buddies, Nolan and Will, we got together and threw down. The cool thing, and this was Will's take on the game. So obviously, there's predetermined scenarios. You set up the board based on said scenarios. You get your god and your warriors and stuff like that. But there's no dice rolling.
Mm.
There is the only randomness is when you go through and selecting guardians are used. They recommend to put the cards face down, mix them up, and pull one.
It's interesting.
So that's random. And then when you're battling, you have a small 7-card deck that you go through and to boost things up in the battle. Beyond that, there's nothing random about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he akined it to being like a game of chess,
I can see that.
where a lot of it is purely based on strategy, and just in how you're playing the game, not like, oh, crap, I rolled snake eyes, I'm screwed. Now, we'll kind of harken back to the Kickstarter we just talked about with all the fancy 3D terrain stuff and everything. When I was playing this game of Ankh, broke out the 3D pyramids and obelisks and stuff like that. And it made the game so much better instead of just using cardboard cutouts. Like, it gave it, like, you were able to much more quickly look at it and be like, is that a pyramid or a temple?
Yeah, I feel the same way with my company Heroes Kickstarter that I got that has the 3D terrain too. I feel instead of using the cardboard
So,
cutouts.
with the exception of just using the fancy stuff, only use the core box. Haven't added anything else fancy into it yet. On a what should I do, Bruce? 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10?
1 out of 5. What are we talking about?
1 out of 5.
Onk.
1 out of 5. I'll give Onk. I'll give this game a good solid 4.5, 4.25.
Good. I just wasn't sure what the 1 out of 5 and 1 out of 10 was was.
Yeah,
But yeah, rating, that makes sense.
yeah. I'm pretty happy with it. We are going to get more games of it in as things go along. Yeah, it was enjoyable. The rules are so having done 2 games now with Cmon, Cthulhu and now Ankh, the rules are, once you're reading into them and looking at the stuff, super easy to pick up. It's super easy to pick up. So once you learn them, it's easier than Monopoly.
Okay.
Which so.
What
and
have you
then
been
next,
So as you can see behind me, the table is still full of Exodus now. But I did get out some, started working on them again, trying to get through my backlog slowly. Did discover the game store that I'll be looking at playing at, about a half hour away from my house. So
That's not too bad.
no, it's not. So I was expecting to drive 45 minutes to an hour away. So I'll be linking up with the group on Thursday night. I usually get together at the store. So
Nice.
we'll hopefully get a game in this weekend or week.
what games are in the area?
So Legion, GW, Armada. Do have some guys that play Victory at Sea. I said I had drop zone drops, and they said if you have the stuff, I'm sure you'll find guys that might want to play that you could bring demo stuff with. I'm like, yeah, of course, always. So we'll see as I get embedded in the group.
Yep. So I haven't had a time to do a lot of hobby because I was on night shift last week, and then my favourite afternoon shift this week. Yay. But I have managed to get some stuff done. I've been working largely on my bot war stuff.
Oh,
So this is like a giant maggot type thing. It's just base painted at this stage. I'm going to try and show off the base. And I've got another one that has a base. So they're all kind of, they're just base painted at this stage. I'm still working on them. Otherwise, I have made an order for some Conquest stuff. I bought in because I would like to put up some orcs that ride dinosaurs. Because, that's what I really need is, more games that I don't play. No.
Right.
Because I'm moving into a job. Well, no, because I'm moving into a job that's more 9 to 5, and it means that I can actually play things again. This was my way of rewarding myself for getting through, which has, let's be fair, been a really difficult time on the work front for me. Like, it's just been very, very stressful with COVID and everything being the way it is. So to reward myself, I've brought some models to paint. That's going to be my project for October. So I need to finish my bot war before October is my current mission. And I may actually be buying some Armada, not Star Wars Armada, but the Mantic Armada. They've got a naval fleet game based in their Kings of War thing world, and I'm thinking about getting the undead Egyptian type ships just because they seem fun. But I haven't made the plunge on that yet. That's kind of something that me, my housemate, and one other friend have been talking about wanting to do since it started. So I haven't made a decision on that yet, but I probably will at some stage soon. I'm not in a rush for that one. I've already got stuff coming. I don't need more stuff coming. But otherwise, I think it's game talk time.
Talk nerdy to me.
All right.
Drop fleet looks like.
So, we are having a look at the UCM cruisers because it's time to start looking at our regular ships. So,
We're just going to do regular cruisers, or we're going to include the heavy cruisers in that?
I'm just going to do the medium stuff for now, I think.
Medium class?
Yep.
Medium tonnage?
And then we'll do the same with the others, and then we'll go into heavies next. So, I'm going to start with the Rio. So the Rio was 105 points. You've got a 6-inch scan, a 6-inch signature. It's got a thrust of 8, hull of 10. Its armour is 3+. It's got 5-point defence. Comes in groups of 1 or 2. Medium tonnage, and there's nothing special about it. Weapons-wise, you've got a UF 4200 mass driver turret. You've got 2 of those, one on the left and one on the right. They are a lock of 4+, 2 attacks, 1 damage. The arcs are front and side, either left or right, depending on which one it is. And they are linked, meaning that you can use them both at the same time. You've also got a UF 6400, which is a lock of 3+. It's got 4 attacks, 1 damage, and that's front and side. Either way. Squadron 2. I need to look up what the squadron rule is.
Yeah, I was just looking at that too myself. I was just like, what the heck is Squadron 2? That's a new special rule that I'm not aware of. Unless it's something new with the new rule that you came out with.
Yeah, I haven't come across that. You've also got... I might try to look that up while one of you are reading the next one. Yep. You've also got Shark Missile Bays, which is your usual close action weapon. That's a lock of 4+. It's D6+1, so for me that'll be 2 attacks. 1 damage, front, side, and rear, because it's a close action weapon. Fairly common to see most of these. You generally tend to get one of 2 people. Either you get the people that prefer the mass turret, or you get people that tend to prefer your burn through, which that depends on which way you fall. I tend to prefer to have a little bit of both, but that's just me.
I agree. As a UCM player, I kind of have a mixture of both, but then also have the burn through capability. So I feel the same way. So
I'm going to go and grab some rule books while you go through the next one.
All right. So next one is UCM Berlin. It's 105 points. Same stats in terms of the ships for scan: 6-inch scan, 6-inch signature, 8-inch thrust, 10-inch or 10 hull, 3 armor plus. 5-point defense, grouping of 1 to 2, and medium tonnage. It has the 2 UF 4200 mass driver turrets on the shoulders, plus lock attack, 1 damage left and right, respectively, depending on the shoulder mount. And then you got your Cobra heavy laser, which is a 3+ lock, 2 attack, 1 damage, front and narrow arc, with a burn through of 6 with flash as its special rules. And then it has the same Shark missile bays, the 4+ lock, D6+1 attack, 1 damage, front side rear, close action. So you pretty much change out the chin turrets from the Rio and put the heavy laser burn through on the chin, and you've got the Berlin. So, like Bruce was saying, I agree. I usually take 1 or 2 of these as well as the Rio. So
yeah, I'm a little. I'm going to go on to do the Madrid here, but I think something's off. The Osaka and the New Cairo light cruisers, I think those point values are a little off.
I agree.
The Madrid. So this is the bombardment version. It's going to have the same basic stats there. Scan and Sig is 6, Thrust of 8, Hull of 10, Armor 3+, Point Defense 5, Groups of 1 to 2, Tonnage Medium. It's nothing special about it. It's got 2 UF 4200 mass drivers, 4 block, 2 attacks, 1 damage each, front side left, front side right. They're linked. And then you have the UFB 8000 bombardment turrets, which are a 2-up block, 6 shots, 1 damage each, front side rear bombardment special, meaning it can shoot at stuff on the ground. And then Shark Missile Bays, 4-up, D6 plus 1, 1 damage each, front side rear, close action.
Squadron X. Okay, here we go. If a group has assigned X or more weapons with squadron to the same target, add a further D6 shots to the attack dice pool of those weapons to that ship. So in the case of the one that I was talking about, it means that you would be adding another 2 dice to it. Sorry, another 2 D6 shots to it. These shots added to the attacks of one of the ships when rolling to hit. Attacker's choice, resolved with the same modifiers as that ship's. So it's extra shots,
Wait,
basically.
So 2 shots or 2d6 shots?
Well, it's Squadron X, and X adds a further D6. So it would be somewhere between 2 and 12?
12.
It says Squadron 2, so that's what it would mean.
Let's not bother reading anything else because a potential 6 to 16 shots from a 3+ 4-up weapon?
That seems
a little overpowering.
Obscene.
Yeah. Lewis, can you double check that? Are you sure that it's meant to be Squadron 2 and not 1? Because a potential 12 extra shots is a little much.
I mean, Jason won't get that, but, Sox might.
Okay, so we are up to the Seattle.
Do you want to do some clarification? Are those light cruisers, the Cairo and Osaka? Are those point values too? And I'll do the Seattle real quick.
Okay.
So the Seattle is a scan and sig of 6 inches, thrust of 8, 10. All these ships are going to be this profile, but 10 hull, armor 3+, point defense of 5, grouping of 1. So that is different. Medium tonnage special launch. It's a carrier. It's got 1 UF 6400 mass driver turret, 3-up block, 4 techs, 1 damage, front and side. Nothing special about it. Doesn't have that Squadron 2. That's ridiculous. Shark Missile Bays. 4-up, D6 plus 1. 1 damage front side rear, close action. It's launch. It's got 3 fighters and bombers. At 132 points.
We do play a game where launch is good. So, yeah. Those 2 are both light cruisers. So moving directly onto the San Francisco, which is 110 points.
11.
It's 111 on the website.
Oh, sorry. 100. Yeah, I knew what I meant. Just because I didn't say it. Stitching scan, 6-inch sig, thrust of 8, hull 10. So it's all fairly standard at this point. 5-point defense, group of 1, medium, launch again, which will be an obvious reason why in a second. You have exactly the same mass turret driver. So it's the 4200 mass turrets, 1 left, 1 right. And then you have the Barracuda missile bays. So that's a 4+, 2 attacks, 1, front, side, and rear. But this one has your bulk landers. So you've got 2 bulk landers. So that's a 2 launch a turn essentially. So this is potentially a very effective way to get your bulk landers. To get your troops down onto the ground. This is a ship that if you're running it, you want to protect it, pretty much.
Yes.
I don't know. Where's the New Orleans strike carrier? 32 points. I don't know if the Rio's legit with that Squadron 2. I say I'm just gonna load up on those few burn through ships, and I'll just let the New Orleans sneak through, and I'll just light everything up with the Rios. That Squadron 2, if that's the case, that's too good.
Like I said, I mean, if you're taking the San Francisco, you're not taking it for attacks. You're taking it to get your troops down.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying use the New Orleans for that.
Well, yeah,
saying
New Orleans do work, and then you don't have to worry about a certain faction's gates shooting them as they go down.
That's a 5-up block. That's
yes, and you always roll 5s.
No, I don't.
As does Levi, apparently.
yes, he did.
Levi used to roll 5s all the time. And if it wasn't 5s, it was 6s.
Yeah.
Look, assuming that Squadron 2 reads exactly the way that I read it, which is what the rulebook says, unless that's been clarified, then, well, I can't go past the Rio. Because that's just... It has to have been updated. Like, that's just too good at this point. Like, scarily so.
Yeah, because, I mean, if that were the case, you know, just as a, 2 Rios, 1 Berlin, 2 Rios, 1 Berlin, 2 Rios, 1 Berlin, that's how I do it. I would not do weapons free on any of those ships unless I absolutely had to. I would use that 6200 turret, roll that Squadron 2, light it up, and then burn throughs.
I think I figured it out. So, if a group has X has assigned X or more weapons, so in other words, you have to have assigned 2 or more weapons from that group to the same target. If you've done that, then you add 1, not 1 for every 2. It's add a further d6 shot to the attack.
Oh, okay. So you'd be doing it for 2 extra ships within that group.
Correct. So if you have
that
2
makes
ships
more
assigned,
sense. Okay, that
2
makes
ships
more
assigned
sense.
to target 1 ship, and one of those ships gets an extra d6 shot to their dice pool of weapons.
So you're taking 3 Rios, and because there's 3 of them together, they're shooting together. You get an extra 2 d6 attacks.
1.
Each.
You add 1.
Or
Add
no.
a d6. You add 1 d6.
Well, what's the
For the
2
Squadron
about then?
1.
So you have a squad of 2, because you can have
Yeah.
a grouping of up to 2. So if you have a group has assigned X, X or more weapons.
Yeah.
So you have to have at least 2 weapons of the same targeting
Okay.
1 ship. And if you do, then you get to add that 1 extra d6 to one of those ships' attack rolls.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep,
so
no,
what
that
about
makes
the next
sense.
ship Squadron rule then?
What's that?
What about the next ship Squadron rule then?
Same.
Uh,
It works the same way.
yeah.
So
'Cause
you
you got a group
have
of
3
2.
additional d6 then.
So if you had 2 squadrons of 4, so you had one grouping, 1 squadron with 2 ships, and another squadron with 2 ships in the same battle group, as we know, that becomes 1 group with how the rules are stated. So in a sense, you could potentially get 2 extra d6, 1 on one group and 1 from the other group, added into the rolls if if all 4 of them are targeting the
Yeah,
same.
okay. Okay, that's still too good in my opinion.
I don't think I have as much of a problem with it if it's because you're not getting the shots on the other ship.
Okay, but so I'm still going to argue it this way. This is like my ambers and onyxes. That's a 3-up block with 4 shots, right? So you take 2 Rios and you just got like 1 other ship, right? So
In a sense.
you're running a potential of 8+ shots, whatever other ship is shooting, because you're fulfilling that Squadron 2. You get an extra d6 of shots. So essentially, you're getting a free Rio's worth of shots.
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Because you could potentially you'll have 4 from the 2 ships, with the potential of another 1 to 6.
We could have a minimum of
Based on the
5
dice roll.
attacks, a maximum of 10.
Minimum of a minimum of 9 because you have to have 2 ships.
Yeah.
Because you have to have 2 ships targeting 1 ship. So if you have 4 attacks of each, so that's 8 plus the minimum of 1 from the D6 roll, minimum 9, all the way up to 14.
Second Rio.
You only add those to one of those ships. You only
Okay.
add that to one of the other ships' attacks. You read that, keep reading it further.
Okay.
These shots are added to the attacks of one of the ships when rolling to hit. Attacker's choice. It's not both ships. It's one ship.
Okay, no, but Socks, they both have the squadron rule.
Yes, but you only get to use it once.
Correct.
You don't get to use it on both ships.
So you can't. The reason why it doesn't have a squadron of 1 is because then you all the ships.
Okay, yeah, that
You
makes
have to
sense.
have at
Okay.
least 2 ships in your squadron or your grouping in order to get that special rule.
So the number isn't how many dice you get. The number is how many you need to have to get the squadron.
Correct. If I'm reading that correctly, Lewis, help us out. But I think that's how it's supposed to be read.
Well, then my argument still stands. If you have 2 Rios, right, then you have a squadron of 2. Each ship has that squadron rule.
Yes, but
So
you only get to use it
if you
once.
have
It
two
specifically states that you only get to use it on one of the ships. It specifically states
Okay,
that.
it does specifically state that. Okay.
Would you like to make the same point again so that we can repeat ourselves again?
No, I didn't know it's specific. I
It
did not
does say
hear
it,
the
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah,
Okay.
these shots are added to the attacks of one of the ships when rolling to hit. Attacker's choice. Resolve the same
Okay.
modifiers. So, minimum of 9 shots, all the way up to 14 shots you potentially be getting
Which is still bloody good.
total, which is still pretty good out of 2 ships. I do have to agree. It's well worth taking 2 Rios now instead of just the 1.
Yeah. And realistically, I would be saving the burn throughs and go for the heavier burn throughs. I still like the Cairo though. The Cairo is still a good ship. I would skip your medium
Cairo's
burn
a light
throughs though.
cruiser.
The mediums aren't worth it.
The Kairos, the points are correct in when you actually click on the unit itself. It's 88 points for the light cruisers. On the main page,
Okay.
But I think it's
No.
that way. No, I know why. I know why it's 176 points
Point
because
cost per ship.
you have to take a minimum of 2 ships as light
Yep.
cruisers for the UCM, and so that's why you're seeing it as 176. It's because you have to take a minimum of 2 of those.
Yeah. So, with the ones that we've discussed, Rio, I would argue, is a must-take. I would skip the Berlin at this point. I just don't think the Berlin's worth it with the other ships that we will be covering later.
The Osakas also have Squadron 2.
Yes. Yep.
So
I still think the San Francisco has a place. I wouldn't say that it's must-take, though. Because it's a lot of points that you have to throw in there that could essentially be done by your New Orleans. But it still has a
even
place.
though- So you'd still take 2 Rios over 2 Osakas?
Osakas aren't counting.
No.
the
I'm
light cruisers.
I'm
talking
only
cruisers.
talking about the mediums. I'm
Okay.
skipping the Berlin because I know that the Cairo is good. We will look at the Osaka when we get to the light cruisers. I'm not a huge person when it comes to bombardment, unless it's actually a bombardment thing that you're playing.
Yeah.
I just don't see the point. Just not how I play.
But then
It doesn't
you
make
can
it
take
bad,
the
it's just
Tokyo.
not how I play. The fleet carrier, the Seattle is must take, the Rio is must take, and I would go from there. Maybe with the San Francisco.
If you really needed to take a bombardment, you could just take the Tokyo, and then you get mass turrets as well as a heavier burn through
True.
with the bombardments.
And George has
So
obviously
here's my
said that he's taking the Rio.
So here's my take. The Rios, Berlin, troop ship, Madrid is a special thing, only if you need it for a scenario, then the fleet carrier. Yeah, there are other better burn-throughs. There is no other troop ship except for the New Orleans. I say don't take the Seattle, because if you're going to worry about a launch, you could, do something bigger and nastier, like the actual full-on fleet carrier.
Yeah.
So, the way I play the game, and it particularly has to do a lot with the faction that I've played. The launch is not a big part of the game for me. My fighters and bombers suck, so I learned to maximize my army without using them. PHR, use the fighters and bombers all day long. Scourge and UCM. To me, they weren't even that effective against me either. So
It's too hard to get
they're
to
not
you,
a thing
that's
for
why.
me. There's that too, yeah. But yeah, the Rio with that new rule, that Rio that's boss now.
Yeah.
105 points. Two. You gotta take two of them. Period. I mean, it's just easy.
Yeah.
210 points. The firepower you can pump out. I mean, go weapons free then with both those then.
Yeah, why not?
And then get the squadron roll, and then that's just free dice there. So.
I agree with you, George. Because for the same price, actually cheaper than a Beijing, you're potentially getting the same maximum output in terms of firepower if you were to roll a 6 on that D6 shot.
Yeah.
And it's a heavier turret weapon.
Yeah. So, and then like I said, the Berlin after that, like unload with all those turrets, and then hey, I've got a burn through. Let me just start going through you. Let me finish you off.
Yeah.
Or shoot the burn through first, have them flash, and then make it easier for your Rios to clean them up.
Do that.
No. Statistically, if you're rolling more dice, you have a chance to roll more critical dice. Ignore the armor completely and just deal them hull points, and they don't get armor saves.
No, his point was
Unless
more,
you roll that,
you make their flash bigger, therefore they're easier to hit with everything else.
No.
Because if they're outside your scan range, you hit them with the flash and spike them.
Well, it doesn't. If you can hit them with the Rios, you can hit them with the Berlin.
Well, it depends on what's closer, but George is right there.
Yeah, that's true.
You're right. It does depend.
Yeah. Moving on. Upcoming events.
At the apex of forthcoming things.
All right. If you're a member of the Drop Fleet Commander community, then you should be entering the Space Station build competition. It's currently active. It started on the 16th, and you need to have your submission in by... Sorry, let me correct myself. It's currently active, but your deadline to enter was the 16th. So, if you've already entered, then you have till the 16th of October to finish your entry, and then submit it. So, join the Drop Fleet Commander community, because A, it's the best community for Drop Fleet anyway, and B, you can actually figure out what to do with your own stuff if you haven't entered already. Essen Spiel, or Spiel Essen, is coming up as well. That's a Germany event from the 14th of October till the 17th of October. You can get all the information on that at, and I'm just going to spell this because it's easier, spiel-m-for-mary-esse.com, and that will take you to the website with all of the information. Thank you for those that support us. If you do not support us, then please feel free to come across to patreon.com/gettingtabled. Only $2 a month gets you early access to at least 80% of the videos that we put out. It also gives you early access to the video version of this podcast on the same day that the audio is released. Everybody else has to wait for the video version for the following weekend. If you want to follow us on social media, facebook.com/gettingtabled. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're trying to get our numbers up. Search for Getting Tabled and then hit subscribe. If you want to reach out to the team... Sorry?
I said please.
Please.
Oh, yes.
I used manners for once.
If you want to reach out to the team, gettingtabled@gmail.com. Alternatively, we have Twitter and Instagram, which are both @gettingtabled. It's almost like we have a theme.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And we're doing a thing.
And George.
Hate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.